to file their ITRs on time to avoid penalties. Now, taxpayers are hoping that the Income Tax Department will extend the ITR filing deadline, given that there have been severe glitches on the e-filing portal for many days now. Now, this has prompted tax professionals to write to the government about the issue, but we don't know if anything will be done. As of July 30, over 5.7 crore taxpayers have filed their ITRs. During this show, we'll answer all your questions on income tax returns, how to file them, and how to solve your problems as far as ITR filing is concerned. Joining us on the show is Vinod Rawal. He's the chartered accountant. Also with us is Ravi Sawana. He's a partner at Lakshmikumaran and Sridharan. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time out. Thank you for joining us today. Ravi, first question that I have for you at this point is, a lot of people are wondering, who are watching the show today, whether they need to file an income tax return even if their taxable income is below the threshold limit. So to begin with, who all need to file their return, and if someone's earning below below their taxable income or below the limit of threshold, should they be filing their returns as well?
So thank you. So everybody who has an income more than maximum amount which is not liable to income tax, each one of those persons has to file their return of income. The only question is whether they are subjected to tax audit or not. If they are subjected to tax audit, then the return deadline is not July 31st, it is October 31st. But if the tax audit is not applicable, you have income which is more than the maximum limit to which income tax is not payable, then you should file your return of income by July 31st. If you don't file, it may invite penalty. And if you have income which is not more than the limit, then it is up to you whether you want to file or you don't want to file. Because suppose because of certain standard deduction in the case of salary or income comes below the maximum amount not chargeable to tax, and there are refunds because of TDS deducted on other income, then it is advisable that you file your return of income before the deadline.
All right. Ravi, there have been a lot of issues with the IT and the website in particular. For those who are trying to file their IT returns, they're complaining of glitches, they're complaining of how they're not receiving OTPs on time. Now, there is a call for extension of deadline, but should one wait for that deadline extension? What is your suggestion right now?
One should not wait for the deadline extension, because generally we have seen in the past that the extension happens at the wee hours of the deadline. Either it may happen tomorrow, that will be the best part. If it doesn't happen today, then it may happen tomorrow, but that is anybody's guess. And that is in the hands of the CBDT whether they want to extend the deadline or not. So one should keep and try filing their return if there are any technical glitches. So like I've spoken to a few people and they are telling me that if you try and file the return during the day at daytime, then you will face a lot of glitches. You will not be able to verify your return. You may not be able to generate the OTP. But if you do it after 7 p.m. in the evening, then the process is much more faster and you can file the return on time.
All right.
And within certain minutes.
Okay. Vinod, a lot of chartered accountants are having a hard time right now. They've also written to the government. What are the challenges that you're facing with filing those returns?
Good evening, everyone. Challenges, I think it's a very small word you're quoting to the tax professionals today and tomorrow. Basically, we are facing a lot of glitches on the portal. I think the government has to look into it, that this doesn't happen. Lots of people are not getting their OTPs for verification from the Aadhaar websites, as well as they are not getting auto-populated their tax paid with the banks. That is taking time. So many things are happening. They are not able to download their annual information statements, not able to download that 26AS from there, the TDS data is auto-populated. So these are the basic requirements for filing a tax return. Otherwise, there can be some mistake. So to avoid any mistake, they have to reconcile all these data with their filing of tax return. But since they are not able to get this on time, and it's taking, practically it's taking hours and hours. I will not agree with Ravi that it can be filed in 7 minutes. It's not possible. And moreover, filing after 7 p.m., that's true that it takes lesser time because lots of people shut down their system and go back to your home. But on the other side, is it really fair to ask the people to work overtime for all these things? And tax professionals are really in trouble due to that.
Looks like tax professionals are in trouble, but also common man, which is in trouble right now because there's just one day to go. What happens in case you miss the deadline, Vinod? Let's say you miss the deadline. A lot of viewers are, hoping to file their income tax returns, I'm sure, within the stipulated deadline. But if they happen to miss the deadline, what is the next course of action?
The course of action, I think I will be taking it later on. In the first part, I will be letting you know if you miss the deadline. The first thing which is new for this time is that you will not be open to opt this old regime under any circumstances, because you have to file your tax return by 31st July tomorrow, or you have to forego the old regime and go for the new regime, the default tax regime. Plus, you have to pay the penalties. That's minimum 1,000 and maximum is 5,000 rupees. If your taxable income is less than 2.5 lakhs rupees, that's the basic exemption limit. Only then there is no penalty. But I don't think that they are not even required to file the returns. So that's the reason the government says if you want to file, it's okay. Otherwise, you have to pay a penalty as well as interest on all the tax due since 1st of April onwards. And moreover, after 31st of July, if you are filing a return, it doesn't being called as an original tax return. It is a belated tax return, which you can file by 31st of December 2024. And after that, even if you miss that, then updated return is another solution which government has now provided, the act has provided in last year, so that you can use for. Otherwise, interest, penalties and prosecutions, lots of things happens after this.
All right. So therefore not advisable to miss the deadline, albeit very short on time. It is advised to not miss that deadline. There'll be interest, there'll be penalties and so on and so forth. Vinod, I know, people are also wondering what should we pay? Should we take services of a chartered accountant? A lot of first-time ITR filers are of the view if they can do it themselves, should they really hire a CA? As a professional CA yourself, do you think every person should go to a CA in order to file their ITRs, or can they do that by themselves sitting at home?
Shweta, you are asking a very complicated question. As a chartered accountant, I cannot myself or any chartered accountant to do this. But on the other side, yes, it is true. It's a professional service. There are ways to do every profession. Everybody can, I think, drive a car, but people keep drivers for that, for the professional services. People keep lawyers for that. We go to doctors for the services. But for the accounting and taxation purposes, I think there are professional services are very much required. It's always advisable to go to a professional to get your services. It is not advisable to do this adventure at your own. Okay. But still, if you feel there is nothing much to do, yes, you can very much do. That's not an issue.
No, I understand it's a matter of your profession, so and you should hire a specialist if you have to. But Ravi, does one really need to hire a specialist? Another question that a lot of people have at this point is, what are the charges for really filing your income tax return? So if one were to do it themselves, I believe there is no charge, but if you were to hire a CA, the charges are then involved, and a lot of people are also not sure if they should be paying services or should be paying for the service of filing an income tax return. So to all those filers who are filing for the first time, who don't have a CA, not sure whether they should hire one, what is your suggestion?
If you look at the system, online system, it is quite user friendly, but there are certain specific issues in filing the return where a common man who doesn't have the knowledge of tax laws, then they may not know which option to choose, what to file, what to report, etc. So in case they have other income other than salary, then it is advisable that they approach a professional, take his or her help, and then file the return. The charges I really cannot comment because it varies from professional to professional. But if there are complexities in the return, in their income, in their bank statement, etc., then it is advisable that they approach a professional and take his or her help in filing the return.
All right, take help if you have to. Let us come to some of the nitty-gritties at this point, Vinod. We talked about missing deadline, but we're also hearing of a lot of people facing a lot of issue with respect to some very technical questions with respect to, how to really file that income tax return. So those who are lost in technicality, break it down to us. What is the process of really filing income tax return?
Process of filing income tax return is very simple. It's not a cumbersome, as Ravi has rightly said. It's a user-friendly portal now. There is no doubt about it. You get a pre-filled data on the website itself. So there is nothing special in that you're not. It is your bank account which shows the complications. It is the transactions which you are doing with every year. Throughout the year, you are doing the transactions, and that makes your case simple or complicated. If you are getting only salary, you are getting very less interest income and all that, you can very easily file this. I don't find any nitty-gritties in this, and nothing special in that. But if you are handling capital gains, you are dealing in stocks, you are dealing in cryptocurrencies, then certainly you need to take the help of someone.
Ravi, stay with us. We are, of course, answering all your questions with respect to income tax filing. Remember, the ITR deadline is 31st of July, so there's just one more day to go. And you can drop in your questions, your queries to us on YouTube, on Twitter. We are live at the moment, and we will be taking them up with the experts that we have on the show, but after this very short break.
जानना है तो देखिए, समझना है तो सुनिए, सीखना है तो पूछिए, और कमाना है तो खरीदिए। जानकारी, सलाह और निवेश सब एक ही सुपर ऐप पर। पैसे का सवाल है तो जवाब है मनी 9। आजादी पैसे की। अभी डाउनलोड करें।
This is News 9 Live, India's only digital exclusive live stream. For the early adopters, bringing you the news 24/7. For the smart audiences on the smartest TVs. News 9 Live. Stream now on your smart TVs.
Hey, careful, huh? My daddy got it from abroad. Hey, disaster! How will you pay for the loss now?
In stock market, you should take risk as per your capacity and knowledge. Trade in options very carefully.
Wow, Dikra! Absolutely perfect. Take risk with full understanding.
Over 20 healthcare trailblazers and leaders. 6 engaging sessions. 6 hours of engrossing conversations. Top trending healthcare issues. The Healthcare Summit 2024. An initiative by the TV9 Network and South First. Streaming on 3rd of August, only on News 9.
Welcome back. You're watching News 9 Live. The deadline for filing your income tax return or ITR for financial year 23-24 is 31st of July, which is tomorrow. People are scrambling. Income tax department has advised taxpayers to file their tax returns before tomorrow's deadline if they want to avoid any repercussion or penalty. There is an expectation that maybe, just maybe, the deadline will be extended, but there is no clarification yet from Income Tax Department. In fact, in a regional paper suggesting that deadline has been extended to 31st of August has correctly identified the news item as fake and has said that there is no extension. There may not be an extension. On the show with us are experts who are going to answer your questions with respect to how to file income tax. If you have any questions, please write to us. Let me quickly get in Vinod Rawal, who's a chartered accountant, back in the program. Vinod, if I am somebody who's looking to file income tax return today, the options that I have is, of course, under the new tax regime and the old tax regime. The tax regime announced in the budget is not applicable for this time around. It will be for next time. Just to clarify for our viewers right now, what tax regime should one be opting for? If that's the question that people have in mind, what tax regime should they be opting for?
Just look, you have to look for the both, you have to compare the numbers. This is nothing that case can be fitting for the old one, or this old regime for the one person, and the new for the other one.
Okay.
So mostly, if you see the most of the cases, the new tax regime is beneficial. Even with the tax slabs which were announced earlier and applicable for this year. Still, if you find the new tax regime is really beneficial for you, old tax regime is beneficial for those cases in which cases you are claiming some HRA, you are claiming some kind of exemptions and deductions under section 10 or section 80, then it is really beneficial to you. If you are claiming section 24 deduction of housing loan interest on self-occupied property, because under new regime, no deductions or exemptions are available except only standard deduction and NPS tier 2 of 50,000 rupees. So if you have to compare the numbers under both the categories, and if you find any regime beneficial to you, for salaried class you can choose n number of time, you can jumble up this way or that way, but for the businessman there is only one option. He can just once off and come back, not again and again. So you have to be very careful and see which is beneficial for you.
All right, so you compare the two, whichever is beneficial, you file your tax return under that income tax regime. Now, a lot of housewives also wonder, who are not employed, people sitting at home who are not possibly employed right now, whether they should be filing their income tax return or not. What is your suggestion?
Well, if you have an income, and in addition to that, if you have certain kinds of expenditure, like you are making expenses on foreign travels, you are paying electricity bill up to a certain amount, you are depositing certain amounts in your saving bank account or current account, you have to file your tax return. This is applicable to you, irrespective of your income is below taxable limit or more, but certainly you have to file your taxable limit. So now you are a housewife, you are not making any income, no need to file any income tax return. But you have received any amount from anyone, which can tantamount to income, yes, you have to be careful and file your tax return.
Okay, but is there a legal repercussion if I don't? And I'll take that question to Ravi. Ravi, is there a legal repercussion if I don't really file an income tax return, if I'm somebody who is dependent, who gets money at home, for that matter from my partner, or who gets some sort of gifts? If I don't really file an ITR, am I legally incumbent to do that, or is it beneficial for me and therefore I should do it?
Not if you're not legally liable to file any return because your income is not more than threshold limit, or your electricity bill payments are not more than 1 lakh, or you don't meet any of the criteria which requires you to file the return, then you should not be worried as to what will happen if I don't file. Nothing will happen to you if you're not legally bound to file the return. But if you're legally required to file the return, then you must do it without any second thought.
All right, if you're legally bound, you must do it without a second thought. That's the word coming in. And if you have any income at all, then you must file that income tax return. I want to take this question once again back to Vinod. Vinod, a lot of people say that if I already am paying a TDS, if my tax is getting deducted at source, and if my company or the organization that I'm working for is already doing it, what is the need for me to really file a return?
You have asked a very important question, which is generally in people's mind when they talk to us. In case of TDS, basically the 10% TDS is deducted in most of the items, as well as in some of the items now it is 5%, which is now getting reduced to other X. And your tax liability is dependent on your tax slabs. If you are earning less than the taxable limit, and even if there is a deduction, you will file a return and take your money back. This is refundable to you. And on the other side, if your income is more than 15 lakhs rupees from all other sources like your salaries and all that, and you have a deposits and the TDS is being deducted, so certainly you have to pay more tax because 10% is only deducted, whereas the tax liability is under more percentage, it is more than 30%. So you have to pay 20% from your side also. So yes, that you can know. First you have to assess your tax liability by adding all of your income from all sources. Then you have to deduct whatever taxes has been already paid by you, either by TDS or withholding your tax collection at source, or by advance tax yourself. So you have to reduce those taxes out of the tax liability which comes out to you. That will tell you whether you are liable to pay more tax or you are eligible to take a refund. So you have to make the whole calculation. Only then you will come to know this it is payable or refundable. Otherwise, it's not only this that your TDS has been deducted, you don't need to file a return. It is a wrong myth. I think one has to come out of it.
All right, and in order for you to be also eligible for that matter for a visa application, or for you to be eligible for a loan, it's important for you to have a financial record, and that is where filing an ITR also comes into picture, and which is suggested by Income Tax Department right now. Ravi, coming back to you, a lot of in cases in which it results in litigation, and I want to ask you particularly for when I expect a return on the basis of my ITR, I believe that I will get a return, but I don't get a return. That's number one. Or my ITR is rejected in a scenario number two. In both these cases, can I challenge the income tax authority? And if yes, what do I have to do?
So once you file your return of income, the department processes that return under a certain section. They determine whether you have committed any arithmetical error while filing the return, etc. So assuming that you filed the return at ₹100 and you said that 10 rupees is my tax liability, then the department determines whether that ₹110 correctly disclosed by you in the return of income or not. If they agree with you, then you will receive an intimation which is issued under 143(1) of the Income Tax Act. And if they dispute that, then they may raise a demand against you. In that case, you have an option of challenging that determination before an appellate authority, which is generally the National Faceless Appeal Center, New Delhi, and which is also an online filing. So you can challenge the rejection of the return by the department, or you can challenge the dispute created by the department on the income or tax reported by you. So both the options are available to you.
All right, those options of course available if you do not.
And just to add that, in case they say that the return of income filed by you is defective, then they issue you a defective notice and they give you a certain time period to rectify your return. So that is a grace period available to you to rectify your return, and thereafter they regularize your return.
All right, but that just complicates the matter and ensures that the process becomes longer, right?
Yes, yes.
So the advice, of course, advice, of course, by the IT department right now, and it has come just prior to that deadline of 31st of July, is to ensure that all your documents are legit, they are in place, and you do not underreport your income, you do not exaggerate your deductions. That, of course, is what Income Tax Department is saying at the moment. Vinod, I am running short on time, but a quick question to you right now is that I'm sure you are inundated with a lot of queries right now, and you are filing those last minute refunds. If you were to look at numbers with respect to and really compare it to the number of tax filers last time around, are you hopeful that more people are now filing income tax returns as opposed to last year? Is there more work this time around compared to last year? But just wanting to get a sense from you if the tax net is really expanding.
Yes, we are expecting a 20% growth of taxpayer numbers this year, honestly, because if you really see that your stock market is booming, you are getting more and more people from there. They have gained from the stock market and they have to file their tax returns. So that number has risen a lot. As well as we have noticed that there are certain people who have made money from other sources, like crypto also, and even salaries has increased as compared to 2023. We are noticing that the salaries are gone, and lots of people have come into the tax net this year. So at least I'm expecting 20% more filers this year who will be filing more returns, and certainly the government is going to get more and more revenue.
Absolutely. 20% increase in returns, that is the expectation? Yes, Vinod?
One thing I'd add, Shweta, if you permit me, that as Ravi was telling, that if you are filing your tax return now, and if you don't file by 31st of July, you will not be able to revise your return. And if you get a notices of that sort, that will create a problem for you. So even for those kinds of cases, it is really advisable to file your tax return before or on the due date, so you get an opportunity to revise your tax return in case if any defective notices or some comes.
All right, it's an opportunity for you to revise your returns in case there is any defect or discrepancy in your returns, and if there is a notice from the Income Tax Department asking you to clarify on certain aspects of your income and your taxes. Ravi, on that question of more number of people really filing their taxes and also people earning income through other sources of revenue, for example, stock market or cryptocurrency, quickly run our viewers through what is the taxation like right now. So if I'm somebody who sits at home but who makes money through investing in mutual funds, what is my tax burden?
If you're investing in mutual funds, so the income can be from selling those mutual funds, right? It can be by way of short-term capital gain on those mutual funds, or long term. So if it is short term, then you pay 15% tax, and if it is long term, then you pay 10% tax. And if you have income other than mutual fund, which can be from dividend from shares, then it depends on which slab you are falling in. And if you have income from cryptocurrencies, then those are taxable at 30%. So actually, it depends on income to income. Some income are taxable at special rate, like long-term capital gain, short-term capital gain, or cryptocurrencies. Some income are taxable based on slabs, like dividend, etc. So it really depends on the nature of income which you're earning.
All right. And all that information, of course, is going to be a part of my 26AS form.
Yes.
So with
So
that, I
before
think
filing the return, you must check your 26AS, the annual information statement, which is a document in your name available with the department. What all transactions have been reported there. So you have an idea of what all income you have earned in a particular year.
all right. Well, that is, of course, as far as you making high value transactions, your purchases and every TDS, TCS transaction that is expected to be a part of that 26AS form. Gentlemen, thank you very much for taking time out. Thank you for answering all our queries, all our viewers' queries on income tax returns. Remember, the ITR deadline, I'm going to repeat it once again, is 31st of July, just about 24 hours from now. So those of you who are still waiting, kindly file your ITRs. We are taking all your questions, all your queries to experts here on News9 Live, and we'll be back with another show tomorrow to answer those questions with respect to income tax and what should you do if you are confused, and throw away your questions at us. We'll try and answer them with help of experts here on News9 Live. Thank you very much for watching.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
For the very first time in our investigation, we unmasked the killer of Ravindra Matre.
In 5G, we have to stand with the world, and in 6G, we have to lead the world.
Winning a Grammy was an absolutely surreal experience.
This is News9 Live, India's only digital exclusive live stream. For the early adopters, bringing you the news 24/7. For the smart audiences on the smartest TVs. News9 Live. Stream now on your smart TVs.
इस खेल में खेला होगा, हर नहले पे दहला होगा। टीम बड़ा है, स्टेज बड़ा है, पूरा भारत साथ खड़ा है। साथ खड़ा है। गेम बड़ा है। Dribble like a rap, pass, 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 setting up the trap. Kick it hard in the ball. Chuck, there for the ball. Chuck there for the ball. Chuck there for the ball. Chuck there for the ball.
Over 20 healthcare trailblazers and leaders. 6 engaging sessions. 6 hours of engrossing conversations. Top trending healthcare issues. The Healthcare Summit 2024. An initiative by the TV9 Network and South First. Streaming on 3rd of August, only on News9.
Who am I?
Nobody can crack that mystery.
There is a certain expectation of me.
That's the only contradiction.
Life itself is stranger than fiction.
I was a perfectly normal person born in an abnormal world.
I really didn't understand why is it different.
Just imagine a child who is bullied every day.
Boys school में कुछ लड़का लोग मेरे साथ sexual abuse किए. मुझे तेरे बारे में सब पता है. और मैं तेरा rape कर लूँगा.
You also start to stigmatize.
अरे ये तो time pass है.
Sex doesn't come in the picture. Sex comes very late. Then there are man-made narratives.
Why do you walk like that? Why do you sway so much? So you can understand the trauma of a person who's trapped in a wrong body.
But nothing can bind light.
We have to reclaim the lost position. We fought for more than 10 years.
Today I'm the mother of the industry.
I'm a first transgender member judge.
You can't walk in everybody's shoes.
This is what I'm comfortable with. They just are what they are.
You become the light yourself.
That is the change that I was looking for.